Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. So today I'm going to be doing a review of two brand new high-end concealers that I got in my recent Sephora Spring Savings event haul. We have the new Lawless Conceal the Deal Full Coverage Clean AF Concealer, and we have the Dior Backstage Flash Perfector Concealer. These are two, as I said, brand new concealers that I'm very excited to test. And I was thinking, you know, instead of doing their own videos, why don't we compare them? Now, they don't have the same claims completely. You know, there's definitely differences in them, but I just thought to compare them to, you know, show you a side-by-side comparison on my face. We're going to talk about which one sits better on the skin, which one conceals better and has better coverage. We're going to talk about which one looks smoother, which one lasts better. We're definitely gonna be doing a wear test today, and then ultimately I will give you my opinion on which one I prefer, which one I recommend. So it's kind of like a little battle of the concealers today, and I'm super pumped about it. So yeah, if you're interested in either of these concealers or seeing them compared to each other, then keep on watching. Okay, so I have zoomed you guys in a little bit here, and we're going to first discuss what these concealers are all about. Let's compare the claims. Let's see what differences they have, what similarities they have. So for the Lawless Concealer, you get 0.17 ounces, which is 5 milliliters. And the Dior Backstage Concealer, you get 0.37 ounces and 11 millimeters. So from the claims on Sephora, Dior has a significant amount more, but Lawless is $33 Canadian and the Dior is $37. So there's a little bit of a higher price tag, but if it has that much more, it would end up being, if anything, cheaper. So that is a good thing to note. Definitely more in the Dior concealer. And it's funny because the Lawless one looks a little bit bigger, but packaging can be quite deceiving. So for the Lawless one, it is a long-wearing, lightweight concealer that delivers medium to full coverage with a self-setting, soft focus finish that feels comfortable on the skin. So it's supposed to be, you know, up to that full coverage. It's supposed to be a matte finish, and this is where they're going to differ. The Dior is a radiant finish. So this is something that I'll keep in mind when comparing them. Creamy blendable formula that visibly brightens, contours, blurs, and perfects. It feels smooth and weightless upon application and uses natural pigments to deliver high performance payoff, while hydrating and toning properties give off a semi-matte skin-like finish. The Lawless has an antioxidant complex that helps protect the skin surface from environmental aggressors, caffeine, which is known to energize and depuff the appearance of the skin, and nasturtium flower extract that limits the appearance of free radical damage to the skin caused by blue light. So some really nice stuff going on with the Lawless one. Let's move over to the Dior. So the Dior is a caffeine infused. So there is the first similarity. They both contain caffeine. It is a radiant concealer, as I said, so there is the biggest difference, matte versus radiant, that delivers waterproof, crease-proof, full coverage with an innovative makeup brush applicator for precision. This one claims to be waterproof and crease-proof, whereas this one did not. This one is supposed to be a powerful spot concealer that offers an immediate radiance boost. It has micro pigments that visibly blur imperfections and brighten the complexion that make your eyes pop. Conceals the look of dark circles and under eye bags and delivers immediate fresh awakening effect. Another big difference is that the Lawless is clean. So if using clean makeup is really important to you, then you may enjoy the claims and the ingredients of the Lawless a little bit better. So yeah, that is the gist of the claims. Realistically, they're both supposed to cover really well, you know, blur and perfect, similar ingredients. So let's go ahead and see which one is actually better. I'm gonna go ahead and prime my face and put on some foundation. It has been hot. Finally, the weather has been summery here in Canada. I'm in Ontario, and I am noticing, I think it's not only from the heat, but it's also from my pregnancy. My skin is a little bit oilier than it usually is, but that also comes with the warmer weather and the humidity and all of that. So I want to prime the skin well. I'm using the Infallible Matte Lock, which is a really nice primer. And then I'm gonna go in with my Soft Matte concealer to my Soft Matte foundation by NARS. Okay guys, so I have finished my foundation. Let's go ahead and take a look at these products a little closer. I'm going to swatch them on, ooh, they're very different in shade. This is going to be fun. I have had the worst luck choosing concealers, complexion products like foundation and concealer shades online. I just feel like I either go for too light or I try to like find a shade that matches my description and then it's too dark. So yeah, they're a little different guys, but we're just gonna go with it. It's fine. So these are the formulas laid on my hand. First thing I do notice is you can see the sheen coming off of the Dior one right here, which is the darker one by the way. That is the shade 1C. The Lawless one is the shade Cloud. So 1C by Dior was not the one I originally wanted to order. I was going to get 0, like the lightest shade. I forget what it is, 0 something. I mean, I'm kind of glad I didn't because I think that this shade will match me better in the summer. So it's nice to have some darker options for the summer instead of having everything super pale. But obviously they would have matched a little better if I had gone with what I originally wanted. But because I wasn't able to get this one, I had an issue with my shipping of my order, and I had to they had to redo the shipment. I had to like find this one in stock in a store, and I just chose a shade that I thought would match me. So either way, they'll be fine. So when I take a look, definitely the biggest thing I notice is the Lawless one looks a little bit thicker. It looks quite a bit more matte, and the Dior one does look a little nice and a little bit smoother on the skin and much more like of that radiant finish. These are the actual bottles next to each other. So that's the packaging compared to each other. They are obviously very different. I like the packaging of both. I think they both look cute. I really like the Dior one because it's literally like a mini bottle of the Backstage foundation. So this is the applicator of the Dior. So it's almost like a little makeup brush in there. So that is very interesting. I've never seen that before. It's very innovative, very unique. I'm interested to see how that performs, how it deposits product and whatnot. And then this is the Lawless applicator, which is kind of like a flat, they actually are somewhat similar in a sense that they have a very flat applicator, but this one is not a brush. It's more of like that spongy kind of thing. So let's go ahead and start. Let's go ahead with the Lawless. I'm really nervous how different my sides are going to be, but we're just going to go with it. I usually would go kind of more in the center with these things, but I'm going to kind of put it off to the side to see how these things sit on all of the places of my face. Using my beauty blender. So the shade is definitely probably going to be a little more brightening than the Dior. I will obviously keep that in mind that the shade is much lighter. So if this one brightens more, it's not necessarily because of formula. Blending in nicely. It's not like drying down too quickly where you can't blend it in. That's always good. Okay, let's take a look at the Lawless. So it definitely brightened, but I'm honestly not really seeing much coverage at all in terms of my dark circles, especially. Like I can really see them there. Let's go ahead and build it because I didn't apply a ton. I'm just going to apply a little bit more kind of everywhere because it's not really showing up a whole ton. Okay, so I definitely say that it built coverage. Like you can see the effects of the concealer a little bit more. I'm still not getting nearly close to full coverage on my under eyes though. Like you can really see that shadow poking through, and even my shadow a lot of people get darkness right here. I can see it still. So I'm honestly not too impressed with the coverage. Now, the thing is, not everybody wants full coverage. So if you're looking for a more medium coverage concealer, this may be the one for you. I do like how it's brightened though. And when I take a look at it on the skin, it definitely has a matte finish, but without making my skin look dry. So it's not, emphasizing my texture. It does look quite smooth on the skin. Applicator was nice as well. It felt very soft and smooth on the skin. I think it deposited a lot of pigment onto the face. Like I was able to apply a lot with one dip, which is always good. Let's go in with this Dior. So much different because it's like this little brush tip. I feel like this one actually, I don't know, does it deposit? I think it deposits a little bit less. I'm feeling like I need to go in again. So the Lawless deposits a nicer amount of product, but aside from that, they're both nice. Okay, let's take a look at the Dior up close. So I do notice the difference in finish. When you take a look up close, you can see it's dried a lot more matte on the Lawless side, and you see more of like that kind of dewy sheen. In my preference, I actually prefer the way the Dior is looking on the skin in terms of finish. I like that kind of hydrating look. I feel like it's juicing up the skin a little bit and not making it look so flat. So I do like that. I do feel like the coverage is a little bit better than the Lawless, but I do still feel like I want to build it, especially under the eyes. But I feel like I've done 2 really good layers of the Lawless. I'm noticing significantly more coverage on the Dior side already with 1 layer, especially for under the eyes. And then these 2 blemishes, I put it on as well. I think it concealed their darkness quite well. It's not completely concealed, but it really blurred them. So I'm really enjoying the Dior. I'm actually enjoying both at the moment, but if I had to pick one upon first application, I would pick the Dior just for the way it's sitting on the skin and for the coverage. Let's go ahead and build with 2 layers, not only to compare them, but also because I do want a little bit more coverage from this Dior. I noticed that neither of them really had claims in terms of how long they're supposed to wear. So I'll just keep an eye on them and let you guys know at the end of the day which one is wearing better. The one difference, as I said, was that this one claimed to be water and crease proof, whereas the Lawless didn't really have any claims at all in terms of how it's going to wear. The other thing that I will say is the Lawless one said it was self-setting. And I do feel like, especially if you already can get away with no powder, I do feel like that's slightly true. I feel like I personally, I don't know. I feel like when I look at the 2, this one feels and looks a little like stickier, like I need to set it or it's going to move around. This one I feel like is looking a little bit more like it's already been set. So I do feel like that is true. The only thing though is I'm starting, now that it's sat on the skin, I'm starting to not love the way it's sitting, especially compared to the Dior. I feel like it does look a little bit more textured and a little bit more settling into the lines. I definitely noticed it settled into these lines. And the Dior is as well, but it didn't have the claims to be self-setting. As much as it looks like it's set, like I feel like you could get away with it. I personally think I would set it anyways, just to make sure that it's not sitting in those lines. I don't know. I feel like the Dior has a little bit more coverage. It's not a significant amount of coverage. It's still no Tarte Shape Tape, but it's definitely a more close to full coverage than the Lawless. So those are my main points on the concealers. I'm going to show you up close. Now, keep in mind, I've been talking and they both have kind of started to settle into the lines in my eyes. That is normal, especially for me. I set all of my concealers. They will hopefully look a little bit more perfectly smooth once I've set them. Okay, let's go ahead and set. I'm gonna go ahead with my 1 size loose powder. I'm going to apply as I normally would. just using my beauty blender to press the powder into kind of my T-zone, which I typically do, and then under my eyes. And then I'm going to take a loose powder brush and fluff it all over the rest of the face. I'm not really going to worry about letting it bake for very long, especially since I don't have my cream contour on. So I've just fluffed that bake off. So when I take a look up close, let's talk about under the eyes first. I do definitely feel like the Dior looks a lot smoother. I feel like the Lawless has now kind of gotten a little almost like patchy, and like you can just see that it's more matte finish, like it has a bit of a drier consistency. I personally think upon application, before being set and after being set, I prefer the Dior. I just think the Lawless looks a little bit too matte for me. On the rest of the face though, honestly, both of them look fine, and the Lawless isn't that bad. So we will go ahead and see how they wear. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up my makeup and then we will do a wear test. Hey guys, so it is the end of the day. It's been at least 9.5 hours since I finished my makeup. So both have actually creased a little bit under my eyes. It's gonna be difficult for you to actually see it. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see, but you can see on both sides there's a little bit of creasing in my lines. I do feel like the Lawless side looks a little bit worse, but I think that's because of the matte finish. It looks a little bit dry and like not cakey, but almost like it's bunched up a little bit around the lines as well. So it accentuates that a little bit more, but both did crease. So I don't think the Dior is completely crease proof. I do have some tips and tricks on how to prevent creasing, because honestly, even my Tarte Shape Tape can crease on me sometimes. So I will actually link down in the description box below my little quick tip video on how to prevent creasing, if that's something you struggle with. So I'm not too mad at, like, it's not significant creasing. I've had concealers where it's like, this is normal creasing, if that makes sense. If you typically get creasing very easily, you'll know what I mean. Like, there's normal creasing and then there's a concealer that doesn't work very well, and you can tell it's more prone to creasing than others, if that makes sense. So I'm not super mad about honestly either one, but if I had to choose for under eyes, I definitely prefer the Dior. I just think it looks a little bit smoother. It looks a little bit more of, you can tell it has a little bit more zhuzh, and considering it was radiant finish, I feel like it held up to my oils just as good as the Lawless one did, and it looks a little bit nicer on the skin. I do notice though, it looks good everywhere but right here. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see that. There's like a little crease right here, whereas on the Lawless side, we don't have that crease. So that's where I think the matte finish came in handy. That's where I get a lot of breaking down in my makeup. So there's definitely pros and cons to both. I think that the matte finish is definitely comes in handy for those who have oily combination skin like me, who maybe develops more oils like I do. I definitely notice the benefits of the matte finish where in the other areas of my face where it might have held up a tiny bit better. As much as I feel like around the nose it held up better, on the chin I feel like this side is a little bit patchier and a little bit almost cakier, breaking down a little bit, whereas this side isn't quite as bad. So honestly, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. I like both of them for different reasons. I prefer the Dior coverage. I prefer the way the Dior sits on the skin upon application, and I prefer the way it looks once set. I do also prefer overall, like when you piece, you know, I prefer the under eyes and the chin after 9.5 or whatever hours of wear. But I also think that the matte finish can come in handy when it comes to areas that get oily. So ultimately, I do think that I prefer the Dior. I do think that overall, there's very minimal things I have to complain about. It's actually quite beautiful. It held up really well aside from that one little, you know, crease on the nose. So yeah, I'm really in love with the Dior one. I do think that it's totally worth the money. You get more product. Do I think the Lawless one is bad? No, I don't. But it's just not my favorite, and it compared to the Dior, I just don't think it's quite as good. If you want a really matte finish concealer, I honestly would go with the Tarte Shape Tape. That's the best matte finish concealer you can get. But between these two, I think the Dior is the way to go. So that is my final opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed this side-by-side comparison. If you like these kind of videos, give me a thumbs up, as I really enjoyed doing this one, and I've done a couple before and you guys seem to enjoy them as well. So give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.